Let's look at how to build a super duper simple shulker farm. I'm your host, Ledoux. This design will produce about 450 shells per hour. My main goal while designing this was not only to keep it as simple as possible, but also to avoid using mobs like snow golems. Not only is it more expensive and complex, but it can also cause problems. They can die and need to be replaced. Now, their heads, on the other hand, might actually help you with this process by keeping you safe from Endermen. But it's really hard to see, so that is totally up to you. I tried out a bunch of different designs, from making flower shapes to hallways, even to a giant circle. Now, I did find that the giant circle has the best rates for a simple design. However, I'm not sure the best way to actually get these shulkers to duplicate to fill out this farm. Because if you don't start off with like 8 shulkers, it is not very stable and liable to break. Because of that, this is the design that we are going to build in this video. It is crazy cheap and super simple, and best of all, you only have to bring 2 shulkers to the farm to fill out all 4 sections. You can build one section or all 4 of them, totally up to you, and you can build this on the ground, over the void, even in the overworld. Where you build this is totally in your control. We'll go over the mechanics behind shulkers so that you have the information needed to build this anywhere that you want to. Here are all the materials that you will need in order to build this farm. Now, you could always use a minecart and rails instead of a boat, but either way, I would highly recommend bringing some potions of invisibility. They will save you a ton of headaches. The build area is 33 by 33 in this plus shape. Now, we also need 4 blocks of clearance around the outside of the farm. So in total, we need a 41 by 41 square, and we need to have at least 32 blocks of clearance going up. So we don't want any other blocks or builds within the 34 by 41 area. More specifically, we want to keep everything 10 blocks away from our shulker platforms. The rest of the farm doesn't matter, but if there are blocks within range of the shulkers, they might teleport over to that other area. So having 10 blocks of clearance from all other buildings and stuff like that is just a safe way. So you don't want your shulker platforms to be within 10 blocks of any other build or block. The reason for this is that a shulker can teleport up to 8 blocks away, and the 8th block could be air if there is a solid block on the 9th. So we just want to make sure that there is nothing within 10 blocks of the shulkers for them to teleport to. But it's also nice to know that they cannot teleport onto glass, so you can have glass nearby and they won't teleport to them. But now let's build it. So go to the center of your build area, and if you're building this above the ground, we want to have a 2 block clearance underneath this initial block. Now, if you're building it up in the air, this doesn't matter. You just start right here with this block. You don't need any clearance under the farm at all. But we need to go out by 7 blocks in each direction from this center block. But then we want to extend all 4 of these branches out by 3 blocks on each side. So go out by 3 blocks on all 4 of these sections. So when we're done, they will each be 7 wide, and then the entire thing will be 15 long. So now you will end up with this kind of bold plus sign. But now, overlapping the edge of all 4 sides, we need to go back by 8 blocks, including the overlap on the edge of the plus, like so. Then on all 4 sides, we need to do the same thing. So this is what you will end up with. Now, along the edge, diagonally out from our platform, we need to place a row of glass. So diagonally up along the outside of the entire platform, we just need a row of glass going all the way around. And it can be regular glass or stained glass, it doesn't matter. It just needs to be glass to keep things from spawning on top of it. After we outline it in glass, we will have some holes here in the center that we need to fill in. With either solid blocks or glass, it really doesn't matter. We just need to fill in these holes so that we are left with this. In the exact center of this platform, we need to poke out the center block. And now we either need a chest inside of the platform, like right here, or under the platform. Either way, we need a hopper pointed into this chest. So if you have the chest under the platform, you need to have the hopper pointed down, or if you have it in the platform, just have the hopper pointed into the side of that chest. Now we need to place the water. So along the outer edges, we need to place a water bucket on every other block to turn the entire row into sources. Remember that if you place 2 water buckets 1 block away from each other, you can pull from the center one infinitely. So you only need to have 2 water buckets to fill in this entire platform. So that top water should flow right up to the edge. Now right here, we need to place another row of water sources along all 4 sides, so that the water now all flows directly into the center. So if we toss in an item, it should go into that hopper, like so. And that's it for our collection system. Now on top of this hopper, we need to place 16 scaffolding. Then surrounding the 16th scaffolding, we need to place a ring of glass. So the glass will be 3 by 3 surrounding the topmost scaffolding. Now it's a good idea to carry this glass down just a little bit for some extra protection. And you could carry this all the way down, like 2 blocks above the platform if you want to. Just shulkers are going to shoot at you while you're climbing the scaffolding. So it's a good idea to have at least 2 extra blocks going down of glass. But now 2 blocks above our glass platform, we need to have a glass ceiling that is 3 by 3. Then from the top of this platform, we need to go off in each direction by 10 solid blocks. And if you look down after the 10th block, there should be 3 blocks of water that don't have anything above them. So the water platform sticks out 3 from our 10 long solid blocks. And do this on all 4 sides, like so. Now on the side that is closest to where you're going to load the shulkers from, and that is the row that we want to start on because 2 of these platforms are going to be slightly smaller. So over here, next to where we're going to load in our shulkers, we need to place 5 buttons on the last 5 blocks, then on every open side of these 5 blocks. Now we need to break out this block right here so that we can place a button right there on the end. And then break out all of the other solid blocks so that you are left with 5 blocks floating that have buttons on every side except for the bottom. And now we're going to build this exact same thing on the opposite side. Now instead of buttons, you can use glass. You could place glass everywhere that we just placed a button. Glass is more reliable, but I've never actually had problems using buttons. But if you just want to be safe, you can always use glass instead of buttons. But either way, we need to have 5 blocks on this side as well that are completely surrounded in either glass or buttons everywhere except for the bottom of those 5 blocks. And again, they should be opposite of each other. Now on the other 2 sides, we're only going to do this to the last 3 blocks, not the last 5. So place buttons or glass on every single open side of those blocks, except for the bottom. So all of these will have either buttons or glass on every single exposed face, except for the bottoms. That's very important because if not, the shulkers will teleport to the empty spaces. And that's it. Now we need to place in 8 armor stands right here surrounding this center scaffolding. It doesn't matter what orientation these armor stands are in, they just need to exist like so. Now we just need to load in 2 shulkers and we'll be done. Where you get your shulkers is totally up to you. You know, you could transport them to the overworld if that's where you're building this. You could get them from the city or the ship. Either way, we just need to get them up to our platform. The easiest way to do this is by using a lead and a boat. And the 2 easiest shulkers to move are these 2 here at the front door. Now potions of invisibility are going to be your best friend. If you are not wearing any armor and are completely naked, and you drink a potion of invisibility, shulkers will just ignore you. You know, Endermen will basically just ignore you as well. You know, but their bullets, for some reason, don't ignore you. They keep trying to follow you. So after you drink the potion, just be wary of stray bullets, you know, make them go away, and then you're good to go. Now the shulkers will just basically ignore your existence. So first, we need to place blocks underneath these shulkers, and then 2 blocks right here in the center. Then break out the blocks the shulkers are sitting on, and they will transfer to sitting on the blocks that you just placed under them. Now we can just place a boat right here in the center, give this boat a nudge, so that we can trap both shulkers inside of the boat. Like so. Now we can just attach a lead to this boat, and no matter how tall or far away your platform is, we can just pillar up using scaffolding, and the boat will just follow along. You know, it will just kind of float in the air and we will pull it by the lead. Now one important thing is that we don't want the boat to be sitting on top of the buttons when we break the boat. For some reason, if that happens, the shulkers just kind of sit on the buttons and never teleport away. It's like they ignore the buttons if they are forced to sit on them. If that happens, you can just break that block and they will eventually teleport to an open space. But in general, we want to avoid that. So either replace the buttons with glass, or just make sure that the boat is not sitting on top of the buttons. So just have it sitting on the scaffolding like you see here, or again, replace the buttons with glass would also work. But then break the boat, and they will teleport to the only available locations that they can go, which is underneath this platform. And again, if the Shulkers are naughty and they teleport on top of a button, all you have to do is break the block that that button is placed on. So now the Shulker will be floating above the air, and it will eventually teleport to the only available space, which will be underneath that platform where it doesn't have any buttons. Then just replace that block and replace the buttons, and you'll be good to go. But now you're done. You have a fully functioning Shulker farm. This would totally work. You could just stop here if you want to. However, if you want to improve the rates, we need to fill in the other platforms. There are two ways that we can fill out the other platforms. One would just be by transporting more Shulkers. Load them up in a boat, bring them to another platform, and, force them to teleport onto them. Or you can wait for these two to duplicate. Now, sometimes this is super fast. Like the first time I was recording and building this, it took about 15 seconds for them to duplicate into a third. But then the next time I tried to catch it on film, I sat here for like 15 minutes before they duplicated. So it's very random. It could take 15 seconds or 15 minutes. But as soon as you see them duplicate, drink a potion of invisibility so they stop shooting. There is a chance that the third one will die if they keep shooting. So you need to pay attention, drink a potion, and make them stop shooting. Then we need to pillar out with glass, like 4 in one direction and then 4 in another direction toward one of the other platforms. And then place down a solid block. Now we need to cover up all of the other bottoms that are open with buttons so that they can only spawn or only teleport to the new block that we placed. Now we need to break out the block that the Shulker is sitting on, place a button in that hole, and wait for it to teleport to the new block that we have given it. Sometimes it's instantaneous and sometimes it takes them a minute to decide to teleport there, but eventually they will teleport to that new block. And now we can just break the new block, and now the only place that it can teleport to is our other platform. So just break the block, wait for a little bit. Again, sometimes they decide to teleport like instantaneously, and then sometimes they get confused and it takes them a minute to calculate. But there you go. You have now moved the extra Shulker over to the other platform. Then just replace the block that you broke and replace the buttons on that block, and then just break the buttons on the bottoms of the blocks that you used to prevent them teleporting, and you can just leave the glass. The glass won't interfere with anything. Then just we need to wait for our invisibility potion to wear off, because they, of course, won't shoot at you while you're invisible. Or you could equip armor. I think if you equipped armor while you're invisible, they will start shooting at you. But this new one, since he's by himself, won't do anything. He'll never teleport and he'll never die or duplicate because nothing else is shooting at him. But now we just need to repeat the process. So as soon as we see a third Shulker appear, drink a potion of invisibility, wait for stray bullets to go away, make sure there are 3 Shulkers, then place the block at the end of this glass again, and then spawn proof the bottoms of the blocks where there are no Shulkers, then break the block that a Shulker is sitting on, replace a button, wait for him to teleport to our lonely block, like so, then just break out the lonely block and wait for him to teleport over there. And boom! Now you have filled out 2 sections. Now the reason we have to do it this way, moving 1 Shulker at a time, is because if there are more than 2 Shulkers in a 17 by 17 area, they tend to just die, rather than duplicate themselves. So if we made these platforms closer together, odds are that the Shulkers would end up in a place where they can no longer shoot each other, rather than duplicating into a bunch of different Shulkers. Now eventually, you can have up to 5 Shulkers per section. This is totally possible. However, it is not very likely, and we'll explain why here in just a second. Usually, you will only have 2 Shulkers per section, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, if they appear, will quickly die. Any tutorial that shows you that there are more than 2 Shulkers in a small area is kind of lying, because the way this works is that when a Shulker decides to either teleport or duplicate, it checks to see how many Shulkers are in the 17 by 17 area surrounding it. And for every Shulker that it finds, it decreases the odds of duplication by 20%. So if you have 5 Shulkers in a 17 by 17 area, it will just die. It won't ever duplicate. So You will occasionally have 3, 4, and maybe even 5 Shulkers on each platform, but most of the time you will only have 2. And that's why I built this in the orientation that I did. All 4 of these platforms are 8 blocks apart, so they will never interfere with each other, they will never teleport to each other, and they will never cause each other to die. There will always be at least 2 Shulker boxes on all 4 of these platforms. Now, having more in an area is not the only thing that reduces or increases the odds of duplication. So like this design, as we can see, there are way more than 5 Shulkers in 17 by 17 areas. And the reason for this is because the more available spawn area that they have, that's a separate calculation. So even though each Shulker in the area decreases the odds of a duplication trigger by 20%, there is a totally separate check that checks 4 random locations for available teleporting areas. So the more spawn area you have for them to teleport to, the higher the odds of them actually duplicating, even if there are more Shulkers in that area. But that's all we got for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. Be sure to leave a comment. Always remember that you are totally awesome. And above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye.